children are actually never our children. They don't belong to us. Yes, we bring them in this world. Yes, we have a responsibility and a duty, and we love and care for them. But we are not supposed to encapsulate them forever. You give them fundamental tools so then they can fly. Resilience isn't just about like, I'm going to get through it. It's also understanding how to get through it. I have to trip and fall, fail, and then get back up. That's how growth happens. Parents sometimes put so much pressure on themselves to have all the answers. It's okay not to have the answers.
They have to understand that.
Yes, I don't know is an answer. No is an answer.
Yeah.
This time together as a family is short. As we iterated several times, children are never ours, so right, they're gonna fly.
Yeah.
We are on the countdown now.
As parents, we spend years teaching children how to walk, talk, learn, and succeed. But nobody really teaches us how to let go, how to build trust, and how to stay connected as children grow into their own people. And perhaps that's why some of the most important conversations in a family are the ones that never happen. The expectations we don't express, the fears we don't share, the misunderstandings that quietly grow over time. My guest on this episode is Payal Patel, an educator, parent engagement specialist, and someone who has spent years working at the intersection of parents, children, and schools. Through her work, she has seen firsthand and what strengthens family relationships, what weakens them, and what parents often discover a little too late. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with Payal Patel. Thank you so much, Payal. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to BoatRoom.
Love it. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you so much. I love that title. Anyways, actually, when you come on the harbor, everybody goes captain, and you really feel because it's obviously it's a boat and I'm driving this boat.
Yeah.
And that's the official title I have.
It's very official.
It's called BoatRoom. I'm the captain of BoatRoom as well.
Yes, absolutely. You deserve it.
Thank you so much for coming. It's
Thank
lovely
you.
having you over here. And the topic which we are discussing today, obviously that's very fascinating. I've been looking forward to discuss those kind of things with somebody. And finally, I found you and I thought, yes, you're the one who should be here discussing these things. So tell our viewers about yourself and the topic we're discussing today.
So thank you so much again, Captain Kalim, for having me. So I have been in the communications industry for over 20 years. But I really grew up in that industry. So I came from a first generation Indian family. Where my dad, it was all about connection. Yeah. And he was first generation to the U.S., built his family up through a lot of sacrifice and hard work. And I'm the youngest of four, but we grew up around only having each other. So there was a strong sense of foundation, love, support, and connection. That being said, all four of us children miraculously ended up in sales, ended up in areas of working with other people where we really wanted to make a difference, but we knew that the only way to do that was by sitting with each other, learning from each other, giving and receiving feedback. So I worked actually with a large business company for several years, and then I moved on to a large pharmaceutical company for many years. And then I moved on a sabbatical to take my biggest role of all, and that was the CEO of my household. As mother to my two children.
The most important, the crucial role.
100%. Wear that badge of honor very, very, very hard. But at that time, our children, Dhruv and Arya, were only 3 and 1. And my husband and I decided to make a trip with our family to settle in Tanzania. So I took a sabbatical from my corporate life. And that was really where my love of education started and fostered. And I really, really enjoyed having a front seat to my kids' education. So I did a lot of philanthropy work in Tanzania with their school in the community. And then when we came to Dubai in 2018, I continued to want to make a difference. And schools here are obviously wonderful. but also have a very business mentality. So with the business mentality, you want a kind of concierge relationship. So you have an expectation about the output of your experience. And the output, of course, is our investment, our children. So I actually created a role at my children's primary school to do be a parent liaison, a relationship manager. So I was mummy to 1,000 families. It was wonderful. But then I decided to take a break again and do something different. And so I worked with a digital well-being company for about a year and worked with over 50 schools earlier this year. And as I was pulling back the layers, Kalim, digital well-being and the social media kind of front wasn't the only thing that I heard that parents were having challenges with. When I peel back the layers, yes, they were wanting tactical information, like how much screen time should I have? What should I do? But really, when I pull down the layers, it's how do I connect with my child? So I decided to take a huge leap of faith and started this year with Shamal Consulting. And Shamal is derived from my children. So Arya means strength. Dhruv means the North Star, which is very nautical for our environment today. And so I feel that families find direction, find structure when we have our north, when we have our compass that centers around our personal values. So I work with families, schools, corporations on helping them find their north. And with north in Arabic, it means Shamal.
Exactly.
So this is where the name came from. I'm paying patronage to where my idea came up.
Great. So today we're discussing more about communication, especially between the parents and the children.
Absolutely. The most important relationship. Absolutely.
Exactly, yes. Okay. So thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And I'm sure that our audience, they have got the idea what we're going to talk about. And that's why I said this is one of the most interesting topics, especially most of the parents. And I'm sure that a lot of children, they'll also be interested because they'll be gossiping about parents as well.
There's a lot of whispers going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we grew up in kind of societies where probably parents, they were very much dominant. All right. And they always used to say like, when I was your age, I used to do this. So do you think that phrase is actually putting a lot of pressure on children, or has that phrase ever changed anybody's behavior in the history?
Fair question, because I think, like he said, we've heard that term before. We've been the recipient of it. And as you rewind back, Kalim, to when you were small Kalim and I was little Payal, and we heard that from our elders around us, we thought, we will never say something like that.
Yeah.
And then you catch yourself saying it to your own children. So then the plot thickens, right? I think that it's a very relatable thing.
Yeah.
I think we all innately do this, not intentionally to add pressure, because it's the only kind of experience share that we have. Because otherwise, when you're navigating a child, it's a bit like chartering these waters, right? Whatever's in front of you, you will experience it as you get there. No matter how many people say, expect this, this, and this at these ages, everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
So, but I do think my husband and I do tend to give experience shares, is what we like to call them, to the kids, but not to tell them like when I was your age and wag our finger and almost belittle them.
Yeah.
But more to see if they can extract their own solution from that. Because I think where we can actually hurt our children by either putting them down and telling them that we had a better life than you, no. But also secondly, if we try to band-aid all of their, problems into solutions, the band-aids fall off. Yeah. And then we're not enabling them and empowering them to make sound decisions on their own. So instead, we give them reflection. And now my kids are teenagers. I know you still have young ones, but it's never too late or too early to start these things because they're fascinating, right? Yeah. Kids say such amazing things. Sometimes they open up our minds a little bit. But in the history, I'm sure. I mean, a lot of things that my parents told me from before, I'm now circling back in the modular, lifespan to say, God, they were right. Yeah. So I think we have to go through our own experience to kind of attribute it.
Yeah.
But, again, when it comes from family, usually it's with the best of intention and love. But yeah, it could be very pressuring otherwise, if not given in the right context.
Yes. So that brings me to the question, because we are saying that, yes, you should not, there are different kind of expectations from parents, from children. And sometimes parents, they have different kind of expectations from their children, but I think that's too heavy on them.
Yes.
And sometimes we say we see parents saying that I have sacrificed everything for you. See, I'm doing a lot for you. I've sacrificed everything for you. And what I'm getting in return.
Yeah.
So are we then, like same you said, that sometimes we are putting that kind of pressure on the children. So if I'm saying this in front of my children, that I have sacrificed everything for you, right? So did I do that to get something out of them? Or is that's putting some kind of pressure on the children that they have to repay that
debt? Yeah.
debt?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, especially you're a finance guy by background, right? So you look at this almost like an investment, right?
Yes.
So if I paid this much and I moved around and I did all these things, then what? That's our duty in a way, right? When you decide to have this responsibility of bringing a child in this world, obviously their dependency is with you. And this is where you need to guide them through life. But then it's at a certain point, you end up kind of like being alongside them. And then you learn from them because actually our stuff is a bit outdated, right? Every generation has some outdated tactics and we evolve. So the debt that they pay, I should say, is more about, gosh, what do you really want for your children to value in life? Yeah. Do you want them to be CEOs, millionaires? Of course. Who doesn't want success?
Yeah.
But at the same time, would you also have a choice of having them be kind, humble, happy human beings, have people around them that love and support them? So I think if the debt that we should be owed is that we build very, have a strong foundation for our children rather than this expectation of a fiscal relationship or academics only.
Yeah.
These are important, but they're not the derivative that we should be striving for. That's an unnecessary pressure. And that probably used to be their, we know that pressure because we've seen that pressure. And even in this day and age, some people still operate with that pressure.
So do you think that that's kind of like parents becoming more of managers? Or do you think like at what age parents, they should realize that now we should not be like managers. We should be more of advisors to our children.
It's a really good point. I do think
all of these things, like,
yeah.
I have sacrificed for you everything. Like when I was at your age, so that's kind of giving them directions. Like you have to do what I have been doing in your age, and you just have to follow the same path which I've been following in my childhood. Right. So that kind of pressure we have. So that's kind of management.
Absolutely. And I think you nailed it right there. The type of like nostalgia that parents have. Have you ever heard this term from your own parents that, Kalim, we want you to do better than we ever did, right? That's a note of success.
I hope my parents are not watching this episode.
You did good, mom and dad. But we want them to have greater experiences, greater exposure, as much as possible. But we do manage through in terms of teaching them how to walk, talk, read, write. But the thing is I think it was in the book, The Prophet, that it was a very, very profound statement to say children are actually never our children. They don't belong to us. Yes, we bring them in this world. Yes, we have a responsibility and a duty and we love and care for them, but we are not supposed to encapsulate them forever. You give them fundamental tools so then they can fly. That's where you start being more of an advisor to them then, because then you're eventually, at one point, they're behind you, you're in front of them guiding them. Then eventually they're parallel to you. And then they're often in front of you miles ahead.
Yeah, people didn't see that.
Completely. And it's so important. And I think that can really start at any age and stage. I mean, your daughter's 7, for instance. So I'm sure that you have some interesting conversations with her to ask her, what do you think about this? And how do you feel about that? And I think that it's so empowering and so important. I mean, we involve our kids holistically in so many discussions.
Yeah.
I mean, what their thoughts are, what their take is. That's when we become advisors more than trying to dictate everything.
Great. Obviously, I want to ask you a lot of questions, but at the same time, I want you to enjoy the serenity as well. This beautiful Dubai Marina. With a lot of people, they come over here and they have sometimes different kind of affiliations with any of these buildings. And then they tell me, like, I've been living in this building and the view was good. And I have been living here. I used to come to this restaurant a lot. So I get all of those stories as well. And that's what actually brings more ideas, and then we indulge into more conversations.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. It's stunning. You picked a perfect place to have the conversation.
Thank you so much. So let's take a break over here, and then we will take a turn. Or if you want to go out for some time, we can just go out, do a little bit of speed boating, and then we'll come back again.
Okay, perfect.
Done? Okay, so we have talked a lot about parents and their behaviors. And there's one behavior which is kind of like every parents, they want to give to their children. They want to give everything to their children what they didn't have in their childhood, right? So do you think that that kind of behavior is accidentally creating a generation which has everything except resilience?
So, with the kind of overcompensating, I think for children, we have to imagine that we're doing it with the best of intention. We don't want our kids to miss out. And I think I'll talk about this day and age because there's so much wealth of items, technology, things, materialism. But I think, again, as you mentioned rightfully, that we're trying to salvage and give them and provide our children a life maybe that we didn't have. Like I remember one of those little motorized, Jeeps that kids have that can recharge. I always wanted one as a kid. I wanted to get my kids one, not because they asked for one, but because I wanted to give it because I never had it. But okay, we didn't end up buying it in the end. I think that more when parents are trying to fill that bucket, it's more about this like parental FOMO, about missing out, about having their kids, this perception of them missing out. But the resilience is really in the discussion. So if your child, for instance, real world example, about the UAE law recently being passed about no social media for children under 15. Yeah. So that hit my little Aria's heart hard because she thought, I'm 13, I'm ready to go. Yeah. And we already were very apprehensive about easing into anything extra for her to handle. But then that was obviously a hard stop. But we gave her the why. I think kids deserve the why. And when they feel a little bit knowledgeable, that actually creates a characteristic of resilience. So resilience isn't just about like, I'm going to get through it. It's also understanding how to get through it.
So obviously every parent, they want to give something to their children. So that was the whole point. That yes, you want to give them everything, whatever you didn't have. And that's the dream of every parent. But here, along with providing with all of their needs, with all of their necessities, the character building matters the most.
100%. And actually, we give our kids things. I don't want to act like I deprive my kids of everything. And no, there's a learning lesson here, guys. Let's talk about it. No, we love to provide for them. We love to buy them things. I love celebrating birthdays and holidays with my children. But I also want them to have a respect for finances, for money, to understand that it's not just a pool of endless cash out there. They're at the age where roles and responsibilities in the house, how they contribute to the household really counts. So, their contribution can earn them a little pocket cash, for instance, or, saving up birthday money. So Amit, my husband, has this thing where every time my children get money from relatives, he matches their donation into stocks and they talk about where that money is going. So yes, and then we still get them something on the side, of course, to enjoy right here, right now, but we're also giving them a contribution on the back end towards their future, which is not visible to them yet.
And just recently, I have learned something about Payal and that she was Miss India, Kansas.
Oh, God.
How can I forget about that and don't mention this episode? have that kind of aura ever became, how I can say that?
I don't know, but I regret telling you that during break.
that becomes that overtakes the mum inside you over your children. See, I'm Miss India, Kansas. Miss India.
I love that you use that simultaneously with aura. That's a real hip word, Kalim. You know what? It was a really proud moment for my family and for myself, obviously. And it was actually during a really tricky time because 9/11 had just occurred. So I remember more about my atmosphere than I do the actual pageant. But then I remember the connection I made there. These were 49, 50 states in America, but there were 49 wonderful personalities, girls I'm still connected with today on social media. And it taught me a lot. Okay, I will tell you a funny story, and in full transparency, they were listing the top 10, and they said Payal, and my surname is Kapoor. Yeah. So they said Payal, and I started to take a step forward, and they go, Patel. My heart dropped.
Who's Payal Patel?
Well, she was apparently not me at that moment.
Really?
But then my knight in shining armor, so many years later, my Amit, my husband, is a Patel. So I guess this is my my karma moment, my karmatic moment. But you know what? It taught me a lot about humbleness. Obviously, I mean, I think that's what a lot of these pageantry things teach you. Of course, it's about the smiles and the outfits and the glitz and the glamour and all that, but really about the journey. About that, you may come in with your best of the best, but sometimes you experience failure. And I think that's something that we've really instilled with our children quite a bit. We don't need to coddle them and protect them. We don't need to, let them put them in a glass bubble. They have to trip and fall, fail, and then get back up. That's how growth happens.
Great. So I'm sure that your children are living that that kind of aura that they're with Miss India, Kansas.
They found the directory when we were home recently, and so it's tucked away in a nostalgic drawer now. I'm not signing any autographs though.
Great. So now you go back
Awesome.
into the canal. So yeah, Payal, I want to bring you back from that Miss India mode back to a parent and consultant mode. So from children's point of view, sometimes what they want, everybody can make mistakes, right? And sometimes those are not really mistakes as well. But sometimes children, they don't open up to their parents just from the fear that they might disappoint their parents, not lose their trust, just disappoint them.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of adults they become carrying that fear?
Yeah, now that's a real thing, because I think, again, stripping back the situation, everyone has good intention, right? Because the parents maybe have laid out expectations. We want you to work hard, produce, and the kids know what they're up against. But like you said, sometimes life gets hard. There's hurdles to cross. So with that,
even if there's no communication gap, but still, children, they feel that tension.
Yes. Yeah. That disappointment. I think they fear judgment, Judgment's a huge one.
That's probably the fear.
That is the fear. It comes from, if I share this with them, will I disappoint them? Again, not lose their trust, but will I disappoint them? Will they see less of me? Will they think I can't achieve it? And then that really resonates with the child quite a bit. Because obviously, my kids included, they really love pleasing my husband and I, and it's glory. We're so proud of them.
Yeah.
They come home and, look from when they were little, look what I made, and we'd hang it up on the fridge, and it's amazing, but then as they got older, and then they would say, and this actually a real life example, Kalim, just happened recently, because they've just given their end of year exams. I got this grade, Mom and Dad, we're so proud. Are you proud of me? That was the question. Are you proud of me? And the question that we wanted to reverse was, yes, but actually, how do you feel about it? And that goes not only for success, but also goes for failure. So if you went through a hardship, okay, yeah, I understand that. And before we get into it, how do you feel about it? Because I do think that they shouldn't.
That was the most, actually.
100%, because they have to be able to reflect. And so instead of, again, what I said earlier about trying to Band-Aid everything and fix everything, and contribute to that fear, we're going to try to open the channels up, have them reflect, and have them also ideally reach their own conclusion. Because if you have to give your child agency to solve their problems,
Yeah.
So,
So there's another thing which just came into my mind. Like, let's take the example of UAE. So we are from different backgrounds. So we have hundreds of nationalities over here. In every nationality, every community has their own traditions.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes we want our children to stick to those traditions. Right? So how do we parents emulate those things to our children? Right?
It's a great question.
Sometimes they're good, right? It's good to stick with those traditions.
Yeah.
Right? So that gives us more satisfaction that yes, we are sticking to those kind of traditions which we have received from our parents. And there's no harm in sticking to those kind of traditions.
Absolutely.
Customs, right?
It's what roots us. If you look at like a tree, that's the best analogy. It is to know that you actually come from something bigger than ourselves, right? There's history there. So, with my family, even though we were alone without our relatives around us in the States, we were really rooted in our customs and traditions of still practicing Diwali and having all of our holy and holidays, And we make our own variation with every journey, with every generation. And so even with my family now, we still celebrate that, and we still celebrate so many other different customs and traditions around us.
Either, yeah.
Which is the biggest right, exposure, right?
Ever, yeah.
It's huge. And so, but I do think, aside only from customs and traditions, Kalim, it also becomes, what are your personal values as a family? So yes, there's customs and traditions, and that maybe says a lot about us and our ancestors and where we are today and why. But then what are our values? So I think you almost, like the trunk of a tree, you get more narrow to kind of see where those roots come from and what it means for you. So for our family, for instance, we actually came up with, and it was during a hardship in our time when we moved from Tanzania to Dubai. We were separated as a family because Amit had to be on the ground for the shipping. I took the kids and traveled to see family, and it was tricky. They were only 5 and 7. And at that time, we decided to create a family affirmation because we needed something to be really bold and to feel like, hey, even though we're separate, we're a tribe. So it's all about the things that we believe in. So everybody got to pick words and we threw them together. And this family affirmation is something that centers around that we trust our family, ourselves, God, love and support foundation. And it's something actually we still say today. So that's now almost been a decade of saying this affirmation, but it's become our value. So, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. We come from having vision and values and mission statements. Yes. So if we treat our home like our little business, right? And you have that same structure and continuity of making sure that your team, their well-being is good, make sure everyone shares the same vision, then you can only have, success that comes out of it. Hopefully you're open, honest, and trusting situations happen.
Yeah, that's again, like, we have put children on a receiving side. So I have another question for you. Let's reverse that. Mm-hmm. Now let's put parents in a more receiving side. So if children, they're given a chance to review their parents once in a year, kind of appraisal.
Like a Google review. To see if you get the commission or not that year.
That's annual appraisal.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, what's the very common complaint we can receive from children?
So this is a really interesting question because I visited a lot of schools and I've talked to a lot of students and families. And one thing that I resoundingly hear from the children is that our parents just don't get us. And when you kind of unpack that, it means that they don't listen to us. They don't understand what we're going through. Maybe they feel like their parents aren't asking the right questions. Maybe they feel like there's a generational gap. Sometimes things are just so hard to touch that, like, oh gosh, you must have a friend or a counselor or a coach or someone else to talk to, which is great also to diversify your tribe. But I think that the listening component is everything. Parents sometimes put so much pressure on themselves to have all the answers. It's okay not to have the answers.
Yeah, exactly. That's every parent that they have to understand that.
Yes, I don't know is an answer. No is an answer.
Yeah.
These are okay. We don't have to have some like big, wealth of wisdom because we're still going through life as well. And oftentimes we are learning through our children's journey. So, to say, I don't know, and then explore that together, I think that's such a much, much more healthy way to have a discussion rather than trying to steer them in a very curated way, because that's what you would have done as your former self. Yeah. But we have to adapt. We have to be open. We have to listen.
Well, you have put it in a very precise way. And some of the key takeaways for me from all of this conversation, that like 2 or 3 terms which you have really used, that especially parents, they should not feel like children, they belong to them. And then that these family affirmations, I think they're really, it's something which creates that better bond between the family.
Absolutely.
And that's what you need. That's what you need. Because whatever we're discussing, that sometimes children, they fear approaching their parents. Sometimes parents, they are sometimes overshadowing their children. Sometimes they expect a lot from the children. So I think if you have these kind of values and if you understand these concepts, so that children and parent relationship becomes more lovable and wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, there's more harmony.
Yeah.
And it's okay to stumble. I've stumbled. Sometimes I try to still fix things because either we don't have time to have this full unraveling of a conversation, or I can see the answer so clearly. So let me just tell you, I'll give the best analogy. When your child's shoelace was untied and you were teaching them how to tie their shoelaces, if you were in the middle of Dubai Mall and there's tons of people, let me just tie your shoelace. We'll learn at home, But it is that, okay, reflecting on, I did it this time, but the next time I got to give some patience and time. So it's okay to make a mistake. I think the biggest thing, and not even a mistake, I think it's okay to go through an experience, reflect on it, and maybe challenge yourself as a person, as an individual, as a parent to say, what could I have done differently? One other thing that we do, Kalim, is we have family forum. So this is something that we do. We've done it the last maybe 2 or 3 years. So we'll book a hotel somewhere around Dubai, have a one-night staycation. And we have a kind of a goals list of you stick to, what are you up to? What do you enjoy? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? How's school? How's your friends? And then also, what's something that you could do better or that you need out of us? And our kids are 13 and 15. So obviously they're able to articulate themselves even better. But we've been doing this for the last probably 5 years or so. But it's really interesting because sometimes it's something simple like, if right now it's like, Mom, if I'm on my phone, don't always assume I'm doing something wrong. And I think that's a common stigma, I might be doing something like writing an email to a teacher or checking on something really quickly. So these are where these things kind of open up. And we're humble because we can all take feedback, right? And when you love people so much and you have so much investment and you're trying to role model for them, it's a two-way street.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Payal, for all of these conversations, and I'm loving it. Really,
Thank you.
because these are some of the topics which even earlier I mentioned. These are things which mostly people they ignore, especially parents they ignore. Sometimes children they don't know how to react and how to approach their parent, and if they don't like it, sometimes they have to express themselves.
Yes.
Right. And thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. So now, obviously, we have that time constraint, and we have to stay within that time limit. But obviously, what I want you to come back, and then hopefully, our viewers they will have some more questions. I'll bring up those questions to you, and then we can respond to their questions as well. Because I know that a lot of people have the questions, a lot of children they have questions now, a lot of parents they have more questions from you, and obviously, we'll put the contact details, like how they can approach you and how they can, seek the advice. But what's the one takeaway you want parents to get from this episode?
So I think it might sound a bit generic, but it's something that I have to consistently humble myself to remember. And that is this time together as a family is short. As we iterated several times, children are never ours to write. They're going to fly. Yeah. We are on the countdown now. My son will be university level in 3 years. My daughter's right behind him. So all those hard moments, we get through them. I mean, diaper days, I'm sure nobody felt like they could see the light. Like, we will never have sleep. We will never get them potty trained, but those nevers become something that is just, it evolves. They're functioning human beings. They're participating in society. So this time is so precious. So even during the hard moments, I try to remember, take a deep breath. Sometimes it is as simple as taking that deep breath and going, man, this is not big right now. This is not that big of a deal because this time is going to go like that.
Yeah.
There's the thing that always gets me when they say, you have 18 birthdays, 18 Christmases, 18. Oh my gosh. Like, that's enough to make anyone emotional, but it's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kalim.
A wonderful conversation. And I hope this conversation was not just conversation, but informative. And from a learning point of view, a very good conversation for all of you. And I hope if you like this conversation, so please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like button and share this video with somebody who you think this will be useful to. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.